What if the ideas on this channel needed community in order to process what we're talking about? Today we're going to talk about a plan to solve that problem. Not kind of, for real. I'm JP, the stable cyclist, and everything we do here is looked at through the lens of mental health. But we have a problem. There are two distinct groups of people watching this channel. The people who tell me, this is so informative, and a second group of people who need actual help with their own mental health. And I want to start by saying that it doesn't matter what group you're in. You could be here to learn about mental health and bikes, and you could be struggling through mental health and interested in bikes. But it doesn't matter. Which group you belong to does not define you. But these two groups aren't meant to be in isolation of one another. We're meant to live life together, to sit with one another, to help one another out, to strengthen one another. But how do we bridge that gap? Some of you know that I'm a teacher and a coach at an amazing school in Pelican Rapids, Minnesota. Our community and school are incredibly diverse, being made up of roughly 50% non-white students. The soccer team I coach is even more diverse, with nearly all players on the team coming from different backgrounds. For years, I had wrestled with the idea of making a documentary about the soccer team at our high school. With so many diverse families and backgrounds, there was an incredible story sitting there. So in 2020, going into the pandemic season, I enlisted some students from our school who weren't involved in sports. Artistic students who could come and daily create content and take photos throughout the season documenting our journey. As the head coach, my plan was to be on the edges of the story because I didn't want to distract from the stories of the families or my students. But mid-season, I suffered the biggest mental health crash of my life. It was actually the mental health crash that would lead to me being diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Disappearing for nearly a week, we kind of had to address that in the story. Add to the fact that when I returned, we finished the year on a magical run to the final game of the season, and it was a pretty incredible story. And as we neared release time, my own children came home from school and told me their teachers were planning to show all the episodes of the documentary to their classes. Now, my first thought was, your teachers had better be ready to talk about race and diversity and identity, and especially about mental health. We needed a solution to this problem, so I worked with teachers and a counselor across different grade levels, and we wrote age-appropriate discussion guides for each episode that are available to download in the description of each episode. Teachers in 9 different states are now using the documentary and discussion guides in their classroom to talk about hard issues, including mental health. And each semester, players from my team now speak virtually at the University of South Carolina to college students about all of this. I've linked the full 7-episode series in the description down below for those who are interested. Now, while the documentary did not go viral, it did get noticed by some people within the industry. And so for 10 months in 2021 and 2022, I had continuous meetings from people with HBO, NBC Sports, ESPN Films, and PBS. Ultimately, I walked away from all of it because the conversations were heading towards a truncated version that would virtually eliminate most of the stories of my students and their families. One idea towards the end of those discussions was really intriguing to me. One of the companies wanted to take the documentary and share portions of it in communities throughout the state of Minnesota, and then have roundtable town hall style discussions with those in attendance about the tough issues that we were discussing within the documentary. As all of this was happening, I also had the opportunity to go on a couple of podcasts and share my own mental health story. The DMs and emails from people started to pour in. I never understood how my bipolar brother felt, until you explained it. You've helped me understand a little more about how he feels. You are successful at what you do, and you have been dealing with this for a long time. This gives me hope that I can still chase my dreams. I thought I was alone because I thought there wasn't anyone like me, and you've made me feel less alone. I'll be honest, at the time, I wasn't ready for those messages. They were paralyzing. Hundreds of messages came in like that, and I had no idea how to respond to any of them. I actually had to get help from my therapist in counseling about how to handle the weight of what people were telling me. Now, while all of this was going on, the idea was still in the back of my mind about community events and how we could bring people together to possibly talk about things that are really hard to talk about. What if we made a film about mental health and the mountain bike and we didn't put it on YouTube? What if we partnered with mountain bike communities to show the film in those communities, have mental health discussions with experts, and to put resources in everyone's hands who are in attendance on those nights so that the people there who need to get help could get help? Micah Kavit is someone I have known since high school. He specializes in filming outdoor recreation, and he's done work with Explore Minnesota, Campground of America, and Dometic, to name a few. Last October, Micah and I started to have conversations about making a film at the crossroads of the mountain bike and mental health. A film about what it is like to restart life after a serious mental health diagnosis. The film would focus on my story in the year leading up to my mental health unraveling, my diagnosis, and treatment. And it would build up to my return to the starting line at this year's Mahahe 100. Starting in 2024 and beyond, we will take the completed film to communities and work with local mountain bike organizations to host premiere nights where the film will be shown and a mental health discussion will take place afterwards with local experts, as well as utilizing local mental health organizations in those communities to distribute resources local to those areas where people can go and get help. As of right now, we have more than 20 communities throughout the Midwest and beyond who are hopeful of hosting a premiere event in the future. I spoke at the beginning of this video and said that there are two groups of people watching this channel: those learning about and those working through mental health issues. But regardless of what group you find yourself in, we need your help to get this project over the line. I've linked an Indiegogo crowdfunding site in the description where you can give money to support this project. If you believe in a world where we can more openly talk about mental health and mental health resources are more easily available to everyone, then this project is for you. Please consider giving for as little as $25. Because the stronger the community we can build, the less difficult it is for those struggling to find the voice to speak up and ask for help when they need it. And as unlikely as it may sound, in this super connected world today, there are still so many people who feel alone. But you can change that today, right where you are, by reminding those around you that they are loved. Thanks for hanging out today. If you don't want to miss the next ride, be sure to hit the subscribe button. I'm JP, the Stable Cyclist. We'll see you next time.